Nope. Nope. Yep.
So, welcome to Car Con Carne. We're on Facebook Live as we're recording the podcast. That right there, in my car with instruments, it's the Burst and Bloom getting ready to perform live right outside the House of Torment. Car Con Carne, presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston, 1015 Chicago Avenue. I've been driving for the past couple of weeks a brand new Mazda CX-9. It is a top safety pick. It rides beautifully. If you're looking for comfort and space in size, if you want to pack a family or, say, a local band into a car, CX-9 is probably the way to go. And as far as tech goes, the ultimate in mobile connectivity. Now, tonight, we're in a Mazda 3, which I got from the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. What do you guys think? Comfortable?
Yeah. Sweet.
Comfy.
The seats are fancy.
Right. The seats are fancy. And look, hang on.
Oh, my.
Oh, moonroof.
Moonroof. Mm-hmm. Since we're right outside a haunted house, having the moon peek in seems appropriate.
Yep.
Uh-huh. I'm going to close the moonroof, though. All right. So you ready to play in a car?
Yeah.
We are, yeah.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
All right. I do want to thank, as we begin, I want to thank Julia Schell Public Relations, who set us up tonight. We're recording not outside a restaurant. We're recording outside the House of Torment haunted house. Before we got in the car, we went through the entire haunted house. I should correct myself. We went through the majority of the haunted house. Only Santi, in the back seat, went through everything at the House of Torment, which included, it was kind of like the VIP experience.
It was terrifying. It was
Explain
awesome.
what this was, because we opted, the rest of us just said, no, we're not doing it. We opted out.
Strapped to a wheelchair. Like, strapped. Arms down, tied down, ankles tied in. And you have a veil over your face, and they're taking through some horrifying stuff. I don't want to give it away because definitely people need to experience it, but it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, you were shackled to a wheelchair and wheeled through a haunted house where you couldn't control your limbs.
Scary.
Yeah, so
to say the least.
We did the regular haunted house, which is like two, I guess we'll call them theme parks.
Yeah.
That are connected. The first one, what was that theme? It was like a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. And I thought that was it.
Yeah, when we got
we
through,
thought we got to the end of the first one.
yeah, she's
like,
ready for part 2. What? Okay.
And I was like, ready for part 2?
Now, again, in the spirit of not giving too much away, I do have to talk about this one effect. Now, I've been to haunted houses before. Santi, you've been to more than anyone in this car.
Yeah.
There is an effect in that first round, which I've never experienced before. It was a simulated drowning. I'll leave it at that. It was unbelievable the way they did that.
They make you feel like you're walking, or that you're walking. Basically, I will give it away a little bit. If you feel like you're walking in water,
chest deep.
Yeah, chest deep, and which is terrifying because you feel helpless and you don't know where to go.
There was a lot of helplessness, but I mentioned this when I came here last year. It's like a Hollywood set.
Absolutely,
walking through this place. I mean, the various scenes. The coolest one, I think we all agree, that was part 2, the high school.
Yeah.
Themed haunted house where you go through a library and like one of the first rooms you walk into has an overhead projector and there's a trophy case
hallways
that's just been desecrated.
It's like a music room at some point.
There's a music room. There's like an auditorium.
I think it's safe to say that high school is the scariest part of
yeah.
everybody's
regardless
life.
of anybody jumping out.
Oh yeah,
nobody wants to remember that.
Yeah, so that was really cool. This haunted house. House of Torment in Morton Grove. I believe there's also a haunted house in Melrose Park. Same company, different name, I think. Yeah,
I think it's 13th floor.
That's it, 13th floor. Open through Halloween. This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now there are 2 members of the band who were terrified to do this.
Yes, this is my first haunted house ever.
Ever.
Oh, ever.
It's not interest to me. Like being scared.
So walking away from it, what was your vibe?
I mean, I dug it, like production values. Like I will respect production values where they're there, you know. Like definitely like put a lot into it. Like
there's a lot of passion
design,
in it.
There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of like they put thought into where these people are going to come out from, and like and I can respect all that.
They told the story
from a performance.
Yeah.
From a performance standpoint.
Yeah. What do you think?
Finny was terrified.
Yeah, I was terrified.
I told him
not okay with it.
I had a chance of him for a while. I'm like, just grab onto the back of my sweatshirt. Go through.
We'll get
I
this
did.
together, man.
And I did. I grabbed his hood and I kept walking.
Our drummer Tyler got out of this, and he
also
was
not a
so
fan.
happy because he hates haunted houses, and I really wanted it to be everybody just so it was more entertaining for me to see how scared they got.
It's truly a thrilling experience, and I'm that guy. I will see every horror movie that comes out, and I'm almost at a point where I'm numb to it. Like, nothing jolts me or jars me when I'm watching movies. Nothing scares me anymore. So this was thrilling. Like, okay,
Yeah.
This got my blood pumping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at one point, I think when we were going through the simulated water situation, Santi said, "My hands are really sweaty."
My hands were soaking, and then
Yeah.
I had to keep my hands in my pocket so I wouldn't react to anybody.
That was my reaction. Like, I just tried to keep my hands like either grabbing my sweatshirt or in my pockets. Like,
And I was trying not to be profane every time I got the crap scared out of me. I was trying to be.
Oh, I let it out every time.
Yeah, same.
At one point, I said, "Mother of pearl." I don't know which one of you said it. It was just like, "Mother of pearl." Like, couldn't you just let it go? I mean, honestly. All right,
son of a biscuit.
all right, so let's talk about the Burst and Bloom, Chicago band. I guess do a quick history. The Burst and Bloom started when?
2016.
2016, about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, seriously, came kind of out of the ashes of the three original members of the Burst and Bloom. All used to be in an older band from Chicago called The New Diet. Played for years and years and years, and then wasn't sure I was going to do music anymore, and then just kind of got pulled into it by our old drummer, and then got Santi involved.
Who's a force of nature?
Who also wasn't sure he was ever going to do music
So
again.
I hadn't
like
played music
this
for
band
7
is kind
years.
of this band is kind of like an outside of what was expected because we were both kind of on the edge of like, let's just start real life and not play music anymore.
Yeah.
And then Burst and Bloom.
Real life can wait.
Yeah. So then basically everything has kind of always been just a little better than we expected. We made some demos. They were better than we expected, so we put them out as an EP. And then like wrote some more songs. They were better than we expected. Like, well, let's just keep going. And then ended up playing Warped Tour. And then like, well, let's make a record. And like, we'll make a full length. You know, it's like it's just been an escalation.
The local scene's been really good to us, especially our buddy Kevin, who's at the Bottom Lounge, and at one point gave us our first
former
show.
guest of Kirkland Kearney.
Yeah, and he had our first show ever was at the House of Blues because of
Yeah.
him. So that's how we came out for our first show.
That's pretty impressive.
It was terrifying, and
It's a very big stage if you
Oh, yeah.
have never played there before. So especially as a 3-piece, like
Yeah.
we've normally been a 4-piece. So like there's a different spacing. Like people understand there's a spacing of a band on a stage as a 4-piece compared to a 3-piece. And
Sure.
we're a 3-piece at the time, so it's like this huge stage, and you just like look over and you have no companionship. Like they're so far away. Yes, you're on your own.
Let's talk a little bit about your sound. And again, it's always such a dodgy thing to talk about a band's music on a podcast where we really can't hear
Yes.
your recorded output. But yeah, I saw one press clipping somewhere that described you as emo, and when I listen to you guys, I hear like all that great like indie stuff in the 1990s. I hear that kind of like post-hardcore, like
Yeah.
cool, like the stuff I'd go see at the Empty Bottle in like 1996. That's where I can trace you back to, or your sound back to.
I mean, it's really I love when people say stuff like that. Like, I definitely feel like that's where it comes from. Like, I'm a child of that, like that '90s, grunge and alternative, and just the later into that, the 99,000. Like, I don't think we're not emo. I don't think we're not post-hardcore. Like, there's a little of all of it in
Yeah.
there because that's who we are. I'm mostly like staunch and like anti-nostalgia. I'm like, like there's like a nostalgia movement, and it's like all these people are like doing like emo revival nights. I'm like, well, there's emo bands now.
Yeah.
Like, let's go see those bands. I'm like, why are we gonna have a revival for things that are still currently happening? So like I love when people hear our band and like get that feeling of bands that I love. Like, you go back and like that's all I'm hoping for. Like, I'm hoping that they can hear a little bit of that because that's so deeply ingrained in me and what I do as a songwriter. And like, I'm not necessarily trying for nostalgia, but I'm not necessarily not trying to avoid it either. It is who I am, but I'm trying to push forward with that. So it's like it's a combination of a bunch of things, but then its own thing at the same time.
So you have an album on the way. You recorded at Electrical Audio.
Correct.
Wait, was that a cool experience?
Yeah.
Was that like a bucket list thing for you?
Electrical Audio is like a playground. For anybody like that's in a band, Electrical Audio is like, oh my god, this is like what you like close your eyes and like imagine what a recording studio looks like, you know.
It's Steve Albini's playground and let us play there. That's how it felt.
And exactly, like Steve Albini built it from the ground up to be a recording studio.
Yeah.
You know, like he brought in all this Adobe brick from Mexico for its acoustic properties, and like the whole thing is
no
built.
messing around.
Yeah, like it wasn't a building that was made into a studio. It was like he built a studio. So between that and then working with Sean O'Keefe, who recorded most of it, like kind of led us on this journey, it was kind of an amazing experience overall for us.
So you have a show coming up. It is November 4th at Subterranean.
Yep. Downstairs, Sub T.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So when does the album come out that you recorded?
Still undecided. So it's finished. It's fully mixed. Started mastering some of it. I'm just kind of in that game now of playing, finding somebody to put it out. It's like, we've gone this far and like it's fully done. Trying to find somebody to say like, hey, here's the record. This is who we are. This is the music. Do you think you can sell this? Do you think you can put this out? Do you think you can fit this into your...
Because you can only take it so far. And you got this far on your own, but
Correct, yeah.
having someone else's muscle wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, like at some point it becomes like monumental. Like we could definitely put it out ourselves.
Sure.
And, play local music and be around and like, but it's just so hard to go to that next step. And like this thing, like I said, it's been continuously... above what our expectations are, so we're always looking for the next step.
Right. So when this album does come out, it will have some Burst and Bloom favorites, right?
Correct.
Because I love Over and Over.
A couple, like we said, like the that EP that we put out, we went in to record, like, let's just go do some demos, like see how they come out. They came out way better than we expected, so like that ended up being the EP. So like some of those songs, like we didn't think.
We got to do those with Pete Grossman at Bricktop.
So like we did demos with Pete, who's an old friend of ours, but like some of them, like we really felt like they didn't get to where they needed to be. Like I had a dream of where they would go to, and like the fidelity just wasn't there because like either the vocals were limited because I wasn't as confident, or like I wasn't as practiced then. I have not been a lead singer until this band, like since way back when I was in high school, but so it's kind of a growth process at the same time.
All right, so you brought instruments. We're going to hear what you sound like before you play at Sub T, fully plugged in Burst and Bloom. We're going to do this on the fly. We're going to position microphones as we're on Facebook Live, as we're recording the podcast.
Yes.
Car Carney is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. I want to thank them for their support. Go there and take a test drive. So many great cars to fit all lifestyles and needs. Right there in Evanston, just north of Main Street. I got my last two cars there. I can't recommend the place enough. Okay, what are you going to play?
We're going to play a song off of the original, quote-unquote EP that's going to be on the full length when it comes out. This song's called Counting.
Counting. All right, so let's get in position here. See, now the people watching us Facebook Live get to see how this all comes together, if in fact it does come together. And because we're at a haunted house, this is a Car Carney without food, although I do have cherry sours if anyone wants them for later. I love these things. All right, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to point my microphone at your guitar when you play, like that. You've got your mic there.
Yeah, I'll sing into this mic. That's good.
All right, it's almost like a lav.
Little pit mic.
All right, how are we with the guitar in the back seat?
All good.
Very bright. Okay, and then your mic is just...
This is more for them than me. This is just...
I would leave your mic holstered. Okay. And just tambourine. This is going to be fascinating. All right, so I'm going to actually angle this so we get more of the Burst and Bloom and less of me. There we go. And I guess we'll have at it. So we're live in a Mazda right outside the House of Torment haunted house in Morton Grove. It's a Sunday night. The Burst and Bloom is going to be playing live. I guess have at it.
Wake up, counting seconds. Time moves slow, it's not
morning yet. Take it back another round. We had the world, fucked it up. Take it back to another time. It's in your head, never tried, yeah. Wake up, down in seconds. Time slows not quite morning yet. Take it down again. Forgive. Time and time again. Is this all there is? And I never tried to move on without you, and I never cared enough to change.
Well, that couldn't have sounded any better. that was so good. Thank you, guys. The Burst in Bloom. That's I love that.
Yeah,
You really caught the emotion of that acoustic. That was awesome.
A little hard to get my arm around.
Oh, you sounded great. Stephanie said, "Sounds amazing." Musical notes
Thanks,
and a heart
Stephanie.
emoji.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
serious business right there.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah.
And right, I'll echo that heart emoji all the way around.
I gotta say hi to Sam because that's my fiance. So
Oh,
she
Sam gave you a heart emoji.
and my daughter rebels with her. So
Oh.
She might be watching.
yeah.
And Bob said, "Mother of pearl."
Oh, yeah.
Mother of pearl.
Mother of pearl.
Nuts. All right, so the Burst in Bloom at the Sub T on the 3rd?
Fourth.
4th.
Sunday
Right.
the 4th, Palafina and Rust Ring, friends of ours. Cool.
Great show, top to bottom. You guys sound great, and I can't wait till you find the proper avenue to get this album out into the wilderness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. Thank you for kind of spearheading or energizing the troops to do this tonight. And
Yeah.
thanks to you two guys for playing along and going to a haunted house and having the bejesus scared out of you.
Thank you for keeping this music scene going.
Yeah.
It's strong, man. I was excited about this ever since we talked to you about doing this because you're one of the people that we are lucky to have in this scene. So
Thanks for
we're
saying that.
pumped.
I'm happy to be a conduit on the radio, whatever it takes. So thank you guys. All right, this podcast will be available on carconcarne.com tonight, if I'm ambitious. And it is presented. It really, by the time I get home, it's like, well, do I want to produce it tonight? Sometimes I'm like, let's just get it out there. So probably tonight. It is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. Love these guys. They're the Burst in Bloom. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live, and thank you for listening.